You know, we're always told to read the ingredients on the products that we buy and use, but take a look at these ingredients. I mean, unless you're a chemical engineer, this Greek gobbledygook means nothing to you. You don't know what you're using on your body or on your kids. In fact, you can get more information about the chemicals in a dog's flea collar than you can about the chemicals in baby shampoo. Triclosan is a synthetic antibacterial ingredient that's a chemical cousin to Agent Orange. Is triclosan in any of the products you use? Well, we're going to find out. Linda Shea has been speaking out about chemicals that we use in the day-to-day products, and what she has to say is pretty scary. Let's start off with a word that we might see on the front of some of these things we buy: non-toxic. Does that mean anything?
Well, non-toxic, according to the cosmetic industry, means that only 49% of the laboratory animals died in the tests. If 50% or more had died, then it would have been considered toxic. But because the cosmetic industry is self-regulated since 1938, nobody has a right to see any of those tests.
If they are so bad for us, why are we all I mean, if you look at these products here, many of them are stuff that you probably use at home. Why aren't we all sick or dead?
Well, most of America is sick with some chronic fatigue. The immune systems are down. Visually, people have an accelerated aging. Most of our children today have illnesses and problems that they didn't have generations before. So this is one of the contributing factors. It's a chemical conspiracy. One of the things that they're investigating is the antibacterial soaps that we use on kids? Yes, absolutely. Like triclosan, which is in this ingredient here. Triclosan's also in this toothpaste. Well, if triclosan, I mean, that's the one that's the chemical cousin to Agent Orange, how does the federal government let that go in there? Again, because it's self-regulated. The cosmetic industry gets to determine all of its own safety data. Now, triclosan, according to the EPA, is a very serious insecticide-pesticide. It's got long-term effects. It is not biodegradable, so it might be around for 500 years. And as an insecticide-pesticide, it's a hormonal disruptor and may contain dioxin, which is a serious carcinogen. Is it possible that it's in such minuscule, itty-bitty amounts that it really has no effect? I mean, could it be in larger doses something that's dangerous, and in the dose that's in toothpaste, for example, not a concern? Do you know that the toxic ingredients in triclosan is rated at parts per trillion? And a parts per trillion is 1 drop in 300 Olympic-sized swimming pools. So we're talking about just a very little bit. You're scaring me, girl. And when you brush your teeth, you spit it down the drain, or you wash your hands and it rinses down the drain. Guess where it goes? It goes into your city water. And water is recycled, and you cannot purify a parts per trillion and remove ingredients like triclosan. This is why today men's sterility is dropping, and why women's hormonal systems are being scrambled as well. Discovery Channel 3 weeks ago said it may be that our future generations may be sterile. If they know that this is so bad, then why do the companies that make things like toothpaste put them in there? Well, the people that have patents on these ingredients want to make sure that the public has a very positive view of them. And it's only when Tufts University starts saying that triclosan actually is a potential mutagen, meaning it's going to mutate these bacteria to keep our immune system from being able to fight against it, that information is not made, that information is available to the public. But the cosmetic industry that has the patents on these ingredients, there's a lot of financial profit in many of these ingredients. That's why most of them are synthetic, because petroleum-based ingredients are what you get patents on.
Well, in our demand to appear youthful, baby boomers are spending millions of dollars each year in skincare products. But according to some dermatologists, what you're paying for could be nothing more than an industrial detergent used in garage floor cleaners and engine degreasers. And according to Linda Shea, a scientist and researcher in cosmeceuticals, consumers have no idea that the cosmetics they are using to enhance their skin are actually accelerating the aging process. Ms. Shea has spent 27 years in the chemistry and cosmetology field, as well as studying plant biology and product formulation, and you're also as well a consumer advocate. Now, she tells us here how to increase our skincare IQ, and what you have brought here are a number of products. You know, I think that this is kind of scary, that a lot of the products out here, they're not required to register with the Food and Drug Administration. And why is that, the list of their ingredients? Because the
Since 1938, the cosmetic industry has been self-regulated. So, according to the Cosmetics, Fragrance, and Toiletries Association, none of these ingredients have to be approved by the federal government.
Now, some of these products, actually, some of the skincare products actually say on them, avoid all contact with skin.
Yes. That doesn't make much sense, does it?
No.
Especially something like propylene glycol, when it goes into the laboratory for manufacturing. The EPA has protected factory workers, yet you can find propylene glycol at 70% in your stick deodorants. You can find propylene glycol right here in baby products. Propylene glycol is a solvent. It can dissolve the barnacles off the bottom of the boats. What's it going to do to our skin?
Industrial antifreeze is something else that is used in some of these products.
That's right. Propylene glycol is an industrial antifreeze used on airplanes and used, on subways as de-icers. It has been outlawed as a commercial, as a antifreeze you and I would use, because it's got to be disposed of in a toxic waste site. Yet again, it's in many of these very products right here before you.
Now, some people may be wondering at home, is this an alarmist point of view that some of these, could the percentage be such a small amount, such a minute amount, that it really doesn't affect our immune systems?
Well, the cosmetic industry would like to have you think that. And yet, because you use a small amount of this, a small amount of this, and because our hormones are being so disrupted that we're seeing effects in our children, we're seeing more illnesses and diseases than we've ever seen before, it's the small amounts add up, and it's the cumulative effects that we continuously have as they enter our body. Our skin is permeable.
Now, what are the safe alternatives, and are there cost-effective safe alternatives, and why aren't the companies using them?
Well, there are safe alternatives, but they come from nature, and you can't get a patent on a grapefruit ingredient. You can't get a patent on cucumbers. So when you're in the industry, like many of the companies are, they want to have various synthetic plastics that they can own the full rights to. So there's a lot more profit margin in maybe some of these plastic ingredients, but there are alternatives. And people can buy books at their local bookstore that will be cosmetic dictionaries. I'd recommend people have 2 or 3, and simply look up and begin to understand a few key ingredients. Matter of fact, they can call our 800 number and I'll give you a list of 10, and these would be especially the top 10 to avoid.
But you are a scientist.
Yes.
And for just the average Joe or Jane out there to understand and comprehend what some of these ingredients are, you really would have to do some serious studying, the amount of time it would take.
No, really, you could just go by one of these cosmetic dictionaries, and they would be able to identify to you that DEA is known to be a carcinogen. Matter of fact, DEA is being promoted all over the country now, the awareness factor on the cancer-causing potential of DEA. So just to look that up in a cosmetic dictionary takes a half a second, and then once you've read it, you'll remember it.
You'll, of course, have to take that book with you when you go shopping. Now, there you have a shampoo over there. It says citrus and rosemary. I've noticed a lot of shampoos. One local company here, or I should mention Aveda, for instance, they promote that they use a lot of ingredients that are from nature.
Yes.
So what's wrong with that?
Well, the nature ingredients are usually just fine. But when a company promotes that they are petrochemical free, and this is petrochemical-free preservatives, but one begins to assume then that maybe it's all natural, yet right on the back panel in the second line is PVP. Now, PVP copolymer is a plastic. It's used in plumber's pipes, and if you're going to put a plastic on the hair in order to style it, you've got to have a strong solvent keeping that plastic liquid. The problem with that solvent is that it can penetrate into the scalp, and it can do all sorts of damage, mentally, emotionally, and physically to our bodies.
And being that skin is the largest organ in our body,
yes,
it absorbs all the stuff, all the chemicals that are used.
That's right.
Welcome back. If you use shampoos, deodorants, lotions, and cosmetics, then you've worn antifreeze and formaldehyde.
They're just 2 of the toxins that may be seeping into your system and making you sick. Tonight, a Northwest woman is putting her best face forward in a crusade to pressure the cosmetics industry to make products that protect instead of poison.
Beauty may only be skin deep, but American women spend millions of dollars a year in search of the fountain of youth. Now one Northwest woman says, buyer beware. Judy Vance is taking on the multi-million-dollar cosmetics industry with her new book, Beauty to Die For. Vance claims the personal care products you keep in your bathroom contain the same ingredients as the products you keep in your garage.
For instance, the ingredient that's in the brake fluid is propylene glycol. It's used in hydraulics, and that is an ingredient that is found in a lot of personal care products, a lot of moisturizer, sunscreen, even lipstick.
Other ingredients on Vance's hit list: antifreeze and formaldehyde, which act as preservatives in many cosmetics and skincare products; acetone, a solvent which is found in nail products; and sodium lauryl sulfate, a common sudsing agent found in most shampoos and household cleaners.
What we're trying to do is get the public aware that ingredients that are being used in cosmetics are high risk.
Vance collaborated with a team of researchers, and their findings link these ingredients and others to numerous health problems like chronic fatigue syndrome, cancer, kidney damage, immune system disorders, and birth defects.
The actual ingredients that are being used are on the generally regarded as safe list. We have to be looking at the long-term damage, and we never have.
Vance calls the cosmetic industry loosely regulated, and she's pushing for more product testing. She says trace amounts or not, the more products we use, the more we may be overloading our systems with toxins.
I think we have to show the industry our concern by choosing products that we know are safe.
It was Judy Vance's own battle with toxins in her system a decade ago that led to her research on cosmetics and other personal care products. Today, she credits a clean bill of health to a change in lifestyle.
They are everywhere in our daily lives, often where we least expect them.
We're conducting a vast toxicologic experiment, and we're using our children as the experimental animals.
Not a single child today is born free of synthetic chemicals.
With chemicals, it's shoot first and ask questions later.
We think we are protected, but in fact, chemicals are presumed safe, innocent, until proven guilty.
Years of documents have shown that they knew they were hurting people, much like the tobacco industry.
Historians don't like to use broad political terms like cover-up, but there's really no other term that you can use for this.
In this special investigation, we will reveal the secrets that a powerful industry has kept hidden for almost 50 years. Synthetic chemicals were invented to give manufacturers new materials.
Plastic.
Like plastic.
Other things we use in our everyday life. Better things for better living through chemistry.
Pesticides like DDT were advertised as miracle chemicals that would eradicate crop pests and mosquitoes. The industry boomed. Since then, tens of thousands of new chemicals have been created, turned into consumer products, or released into the environment.
There are 80,000 different man-made chemicals that have been registered with the EPA for possible use in commerce. Of those 80,000, there are about 15,000 that are actually produced each year in major quantities. And of those 15,000, only about 43% have ever been properly tested to see whether or not they can cause injury to humans.
These secret documents reveal that the risks were known from the beginning. The chemical industry knew much more about its miracle products than it was telling.
The chemical industry has contended that while a few substances pose a real risk to human health when sufficient exposure occurs, the vast majority of chemicals do not pose any substantial threat to health. However, the problem is very little data exists to broadly respond to the public's perception and the charges of our opponents.
That is worth repeating. The problem is very little data exists. In other words, the industry itself acknowledged It could not prove the majority of chemicals safe.